While the actual articles are highlighting J.D. Vance's speak on this one and the actual head of this agency, a woman who's saying what's happening, we think this picture that AI brought to us of Stephen Miller sort of makes sense in the caption because this is kind of his plan. This is coming from a new message, or the ideas from a new message from the head of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, I should say, EEOC, and has set off a national debate where the chair, Andrea Lucas, has urged white men who believe they were discriminated against at work to basically file claims based off of race or sex claims, saying they may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights law. This call was posted on X, but it's part of a wider range sharing the information that's becoming a broader stamp of the Trump administration as they escalate against DEI programs, that is diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, basically everywhere. Now, this reporting comes describing the EEOC message as more than a single social post, more than just a one hit. This has been something that Lucas has been prioritizing for quite some time as she has been shifting the agency's enforcement process towards what she calls DEI-related discrimination. This is aligning with President Trump's broader push to roll back any DEI in government and to challenge similar policies in the private sector. So in other words, the administration's approach is not to just criticize DEI and say it's bad and make fun of people and try to take things away, but it actually is actively encouraging workers to use the civil rights system to test the system and whether the programs violate Title 8, Title 7, and that's the major federal workplace anti-discrimination law. It's in Roman numerals, so bear with me. It took me a second. VII, if you will. Here's where this thing is going, though. Vice President J.D. Vance has amplified the DEI critique, basically popping into the news cycle to talk about it right now, around the same time that Lucas is pushing this right here. This sue the government if you're a white guy or sue your group, your employer, white guy, because you may have money coming to you. There's an disagreement framing, if you will, that DEI can become systematic discrimination based on many type of factors. That contribution, which the top White House messaging puts into the workplace for civil rights regulatory encouragement, saying specific groups should file claims. In this case, specific groups are white men. They make the story feel like the coordinated political move, like this really is a push to create something. Supporters of this see this as equal enforcement of civil rights law, all people being forced to be with the same issues. Many critics see it as government just trying to redefine civil rights enforcement, targeting programs designed to address historic underrepresentation, basically people who don't get all the shots, getting less shots because you're giving more shots to people who get all the shots, i.e. the white men thing. So there's one key legal point to this, and it is Title 8 specifically. Title 7 specifically. I can't count, can't read. I should have changed that to 8 instead of the VII. This Title 7 is barring employers from treating people differently based off protected traits such as race or sex. The reports from the EEOC and the Department of Justice previously issued guidance warning that certain DEI-linked practices, depending on how they're built, can trigger these Title VII problems, including some training, some resource groups, and some fellowship programs. HR industry coverage notes that employers are now being advised to review hiring, promotion, and mentorship, and also leadership programs to ensure they're not explicitly race or sex-based preferences ways to create liabilities, i.e. trying to find ways to make more women or make more minorities go deeper into a program, go higher into the works by having programs that target women or minorities specifically so they get more training is wrong. And that's where the basis of this is going, because everything should be fair. Everything should be fair. Major criticism is maintaining reporting is that it is unusual for agency leader to single out one demographic, even if it is white men, of course, because it looks like the government is prioritizing some workers over others. There are various quotes about system-wide discrimination against white men, the fact that it doesn't really exist. It's not really there, and notes that white men are pretty much overrepresented in all aspects of all leadership roles. There's also flags and concerns from media reports that some categories of discrimination and complaints, such as involving transgender workers, are being ignored and deprioritized. So it's showing that there really is not a fair endorsement of these programs. It really is being weighted towards now white men. And that is where we're left to kind of sit with this one. If your employer is making the hiring, promotion, or pay decisions using illegal race or sex-based rules, then it should be wiped out. It should be there. But the problem is the people that are now being pushed to sort of push the limits are people who already have most of the advantages. They are white men. The public targeting white men is something that really isn't there. Or I should say, the target of white men being discriminated in the workforce doesn't actually seem to be there. The EEOC is doing its best to make things seem fairer by giving more shots to white dudes, but the actual discrimination cases don't seem to exist. Something that came up in a conversation I had with someone about jobs is the fact that now that DEI is being eliminated, you're doing a better job of just making it sort of equal based off of merit. The problem comes that you're finding that a lot of people who were the non-recipients of DEI, people that were the white guys, aren't as qualified as some of the folks that the DEI was pulling in there. In fact, DEI was doing its job, bringing in more diverse efforts, people to get chances to get looks at things so they can actually advance and do more forward and be better for the group, as opposed to hiring mediocre white dudes because that's what you see, so that's what you get. The biggest problem is DEI is causing issues where you're finding out that you're not hiring the best people. You're not hiring the brightest people. You're literally discriminating against a chance to do better for a chance to stay, I'm going to say this and say it on purpose, pure. So your thoughts, your comments, your ideas on this one. Do you like the fact that white guys are now filing their EEOC claims against DEI because they saying they are being discriminated against because they're white dudes and not because they actually don't have the talent to pull it off? Your comments, very much welcome.